The galaxy had spoken, and its voice was not one that could be ignored. Across the vast, glittering expanse of stars, through the dark stretches between nebulae and wormholes, a single chilling message had been transmitted to every known civilization: quantum storms kill all. It was not a suggestion. It was not a warning to be debated over cups of synthesized tea or the philosophical musings of scholars. It was a decree of cosmic inevitability, and in its brevity lay a terror that no species had yet survived to describe. Entire systems had vanished before the message reached human ears. Planets that once teemed with life now drifted as cold husks, their atmospheres stripped away in a blink of quantum fury. Entire fleets of ships, carrying the hopes and knowledge of thousands of sentient beings, had disintegrated in mere moments, leaving only distorted bursts of radiation to mark their passage. Alien historians cataloged these events with a mix of awe and horror, though the records were sparse. Quantum storms left no survivors and thus no testimony. Nothing remained to offer context, to provide an understanding of the forces that bent reality to their violent whims. Some scholars theorized that the storms were not merely destructive, but sentient in some unknowable sense, a judgment rendered across time and space, impartial and unfeeling. Others speculated that they were the remnants of a forgotten cosmic experiment, the byproduct of an ancient civilization's attempt to manipulate reality itself. Whatever the origin, the outcome was universal: complete annihilation. In council chambers scattered across the galaxy, alien representatives met in emergency summits. Holocommunications flickered with projections of worlds succumbing to flashes of impossible energy. They debated with fervor and desperation. Could anything survive the storms? Perhaps a species with adaptive quantum shielding? Or one with the ability to perceive reality beyond 3 dimensions? Every hypothesis, every calculation was measured against the cold truth of the data. Nothing had ever emerged intact. Entire sectors, from the outer reaches of the Orion cluster to the dense star fields near the galactic core, were now tombs. And yet, humanity remained an anomaly. Earth's transmission was received by alien monitoring stations with a mixture of disbelief and amusement. Humans, a species so young and volatile in galactic terms, were notorious for ignoring protocol, bending rules, and surviving situations that should have destroyed them. They had barely joined the interstellar community, yet they had already exhibited behaviors that confounded the galaxy. Yet, even the most reckless human, it was assumed, would retreat in the face of a quantum storm. They would hide. They would seek shelter beneath planetary shields or retreat into orbital bunkers. Survival, in their own history, had always been tied to prudence and caution when confronted with insurmountable danger. That is what the galaxy believed. And so the message reached them: quantum storms kill all. Unlike other species, the humans did not recoil in fear. They did not issue mass evacuation orders, nor did they begin constructing shelters capable of withstanding energies that tore atoms apart. Instead, humanity responded with curiosity. Scientists gathered in labs beneath Earth's atmosphere, their faces illuminated by the glow of holoscreens displaying approaching storm trajectories. Engineers adjusted satellites, calculating angles of approach, camera apertures, and the placement of observation equipment. What should have been terror became fascination. Every pulse of energy from the storm was a signal to them, not of doom, but of opportunity. Alien observers, watching remotely through observational posts in neighboring systems, were dumbfounded. They had expected to see fear etched into human expressions, chaos in their operations, panic-driven decisions that might save a fraction of the population. Instead, what they saw was meticulous planning, organized enthusiasm, and, most astonishingly, the preparation of cameras. Humans were going to take photographs. They were going to document the storm, not merely to survive it, but to capture it as art, as evidence, as memory. The audacity of it was staggering. As the storm drew closer, the human preparations only intensified. Satellites were equipped with fail-safe systems designed not merely to withstand the storm, but to record it in exquisite detail. Laboratory teams argued passionately over camera angles and exposure times. Children and students, usually confined to classrooms and laboratories, were enlisted to monitor data feeds, their eyes wide with excitement rather than terror. The message of annihilation, repeated across light years and interpreted as a death sentence by every other species in the galaxy, had been reframed by humans as a challenge. They were going to see the storm. They were going to understand it. And if the universe was going to unleash its ultimate destructive force, humans would face it with curiosity, courage, and most audaciously, a camera in hand. Even now, as the first quantum ripples began to touch the outer solar system, humans did not quiver. Satellites transmitted initial readings of energy fluctuations that bent light in ways previously deemed impossible. The auroras of quantum interference shimmered against the backdrop of space, twisting in kaleidoscopic patterns that defied comprehension. Alien scientists, observing remotely, trembled at the spectacle, expecting that any moment now, the human species would cease to exist. But Earth remained, steadfast and alive, its inhabitants wide-eyed and ready to capture the beauty of what the galaxy had declared lethal. In the annals of galactic history, this would be recorded as the moment humanity revealed its true nature. Where other species cowered, humans observed. Where other species fled, humans documented. Where other species died, humans prepared to turn annihilation into memory, danger into understanding. The galaxy had spoken. Quantum storms kill all. The humans heard it and did something no other species had dared. They smiled, adjusted their lenses, and readied themselves to witness the impossible. And yet, despite every warning, every precedent of extinction, humans did not cower. Where other species would have retreated, Earth's inhabitants leaned forward. They treated the approaching quantum storm not as an insurmountable threat, but as a puzzle, a challenge, and most importantly, an opportunity. The humans' response was audacious, almost incomprehensible to the observers in distant systems. While advanced civilizations scrambled to build bunkers, reinforced starships, or quantum shelters designed to survive the impossible, humans did something radically different. They prepared to witness it. Cameras were mounted, sensors calibrated, probes launched. Humanity would not merely survive. They would record, document, and, in true human fashion, memorialize the event for posterity. The first probes were small, almost laughably fragile by galactic standards. Engineers in lab-lit rooms across the planet worked tirelessly, launching these devices into the outer reaches of the solar system, beyond the orbit of Neptune, where the storm's tendrils were already beginning to curl through space. The probes were equipped with every imaginable sensor, radiation detectors, quantum field analyzers, ultra-high-speed cameras capable of capturing events at resolutions previously thought impossible. As the probes transmitted initial data, Earth's scientists watched in awe. Light twisted around the edges of the storm, refracting in colors the human eye had never seen, and patterns emerged in the chaos vortices, spirals, and arcs that seemed almost sentient. When the first probe melted under the storm's fury, sending garbled data back to mission control, humans did not panic. They noted the failure, adjusted their designs, and launched another. And another. Failures were merely steps toward understanding. When entire arrays of instruments short-circuited under the storm's unrelenting energy, the response from Earth was not despair, but laughter. "We need sturdier tripods," one engineer joked over the comms, while another muttered about needing a coffee refill before the next launch. To the galaxy, observing from secure outposts, it seemed insane. "They will die," alien scholars whispered, their antennas trembling at the audacity. But humans were undeterred. As the storm advanced, the preparations escalated. Entire fleets of human-made craft were sent hurtling toward the phenomenon. These vessels were a mixture of research and improvisation, cobbled together from the best of Earth's technology and the wildest leaps of human ingenuity. Some were sleek and aerodynamic, others bulky and asymmetrical, yet all were armed with the same mission: observe, record, survive. Within each ship, humans maintained a sense of calm that was almost impossible to fathom. Teams of scientists monitored readings in real time, students and volunteers assisted with equipment adjustments, and pilots navigated trajectories that brought them closer to the storm than any living being had ever dared. Observers from distant civilizations recorded the human behavior with disbelief. Where all logic predicted panic, disorganization, and inevitable death, they saw meticulous preparation, bold strategy, and most astonishing of all, human joy. As the storm's energy began to ripple through the outer solar system, they watched as humans raised their cameras, adjusted their sensors, and even took the occasional celebratory selfie, capturing the swirling colors and arcs of quantum lightning as if attending a cosmic festival. It was a spectacle, yes, but one that carried a deeper message. Humans were not afraid of annihilation. They faced it with curiosity, creativity, and the audacity to celebrate what others would deem fatal. By the time the storm had crept closer, the humans had already established a network of observation posts and floating research stations, all designed to capture the phenomena from multiple angles. The energy pulses of the storm bent light, twisted space, and created patterns that seemed to ripple with intelligence. And yet, humans moved among it with deliberate caution and awe. They treated the storm like an artist treats a blank canvas, something to study, to appreciate, to immortalize in memory and in photographs. Alien observers, monitoring every transmission, began to whisper among themselves in disbelief. Nothing in the galaxy could survive such storms, and yet here were humans, defying every law, every expectation, and every precedent. The humor of the humans, their calm, their ability to transform fear into curiosity, was almost maddening to the galaxy. As readings streamed in, showing instruments failing spectacularly, yet humans adjusting on the fly, alien scholars struggled to reconcile reality with expectation. They should be dead, they insisted. They should have been vaporized years ago. And yet, humans continued, launching more probes, refining more instruments, recalibrating sensors, and snapping images as the storm writhed in luminous chaos around them. This was the beginning of humanity's declaration to the galaxy that fear was not the only response to annihilation, that fragility was not the only outcome of confrontation with the universe's deadliest forces. Where every other species had retreated, humans advanced. Where every other species had perished, humans survived. And where every other species had been silent, humans documented, recorded, and smiled, taking photographs as souvenirs of an event that should have ended them all. Even as the first tendrils of the storm brushed past the outer planets, causing energy surges and particle discharges that threatened satellites and power grids, humans stood ready. They were not naive. They understood the danger. They respected it. But they had chosen curiosity over fear, observation over hiding, and memory over mere survival. The galaxy had never witnessed such audacity, and perhaps it would never witness it again. In the end, humanity's approach was simple yet revolutionary. The storm was not a sentence of death. It was a cosmic mystery, a test of courage, and an opportunity to demonstrate that the human spirit could shine even in the face of annihilation. And with every probe launched, every camera shutter clicked, and every calculation adjusted mid-flight, humans sent a message louder than any galactic warning. They would not merely exist, they would observe, understand, and immortalize the storm that had killed all others. Wars bore. As the storm drew ever closer, a sense of tension rippled across the galaxy. Every alien species, every council, every historian who had studied the wreckage of civilizations lost to quantum storms watched in silent horror. They expected annihilation, instant and absolute. Entire fleets would be destroyed, entire worlds reduced to statistical anomalies, and humans so fragile, so reckless would vanish like the rest. But humans had never been bound by expectation. Where others hesitated, they advanced. Entire fleets of human craft now glinted against the void, moving toward the storm with the audacity of pioneers, setting foot on a world no one else had dared to approach. These ships were a chaotic orchestra of design and purpose. Some were sleek, engineered for speed and maneuverability. Others were massive, fortified with experimental shielding and layered materials that defied conventional physics. Yet all shared a singular goal: to enter the heart of the storm and observe it. Inside the ships, humans worked with a calm intensity that alien observers found almost incomprehensible. Pilots navigated with precision through rippling gravitational distortions. Scientists monitored fluctuating energy readings that would have fried the circuits of any standard probe. Engineers recalibrated equipment in real time, adjusting sensors to account for quantum flux, and students and volunteers documented every reaction of the storm, capturing the event with a mixture of awe and giddy excitement. For humans, this was no mere survival mission. It was exploration, discovery, and defiance rolled into one. As the first tendrils of the storm wrapped around the outermost vessels, the galaxy held its collective breath. Quantum lightning arced in impossibly complex patterns, its pulses bending light and time itself. The storm churned with a destructive power that had ended countless civilizations, yet the humans pressed forward. They raised their cameras, adjusted exposures, and captured the spectacle in ways no alien technology could match. One pilot even waved toward a distant observation post, a grin visible on his visor as he navigated through a lattice of energy arcs. The storm reacted. This was something no one had expected. Instead of indiscriminately vaporizing the ships, the quantum energy seemed to bend, almost deliberately, around the humans' vessels. Flashes of destructive energy split into dazzling patterns, spiraling around the hulls, creating tunnels of light and corridors of shifting colors. Instruments detected anomalies, areas of the storm where the energy simply parted, allowing the ships to pass. The aliens observing remotely could not comprehend it. "It is impossible," they murmured. "They should be disintegrated." And yet, the humans moved through the heart of annihilation as if they were merely navigating a storm on a distant planet, the chaos bending to their presence. For days, the humans drifted within the storm, capturing images, analyzing quantum patterns, and laughing at their peril. They treated the tempest as both threat and teacher, noting how energy pulses interacted with matter, how certain materials resisted annihilation, and how the storm itself seemed to respond to their presence. It was as if the storm recognized them not with consciousness, but with some strange, fundamental reaction to the audacity of life. Their ships shimmered like ghostly specters within the storms, reflecting arcs of quantum lightning and leaving trails of luminescent energy that would later be studied by alien physicists in awe. And then came the selfies. Where every other species would have hidden, every human raised their cameras, smiling amid arcs of lightning that could have torn their ships apart. Some recorded themselves holding up signs with jokes. Others framed the most dangerous vortices, as if capturing the perfect landscape photograph. To an alien eye, it was madness. To the humans, it was triumph. They had not only survived, they had transformed the storm into art, into memory, into proof that fear was not the only response to cosmic annihilation. The storm, relentless and chaotic, roared around them. Yet humans moved with the certainty of a species that had faced impossible odds throughout their history and had always found a way forward. They adapted, improvised, and endured. Every failure of an instrument was met with a new strategy. Every fluctuation in the storm's energy was met with observation and adjustment. Alien observers began to whisper in disbelief and fear. If humans could pass through the deadliest storm in the galaxy without perishing, what did that imply about the species' resilience, ingenuity, and sheer audacity? Through it all, the humans pressed on, documenting the storm's every curve and pulse, unraveling secrets that had killed countless others. They captured phenomena that defied physics, recorded light that no eye should have perceived, and preserved these wonders for future generations. The storm had been declared lethal. The galaxy had expected annihilation, and yet, here were humans, smiling through destruction, bending the rules of survival itself. When finally they emerged from the heart of the storm, battered but unbroken, the humans carried with them a trove of knowledge and imagery. They had turned destruction into data, peril into proof, and chaos into memory. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. The species that should have died, the species that no one had expected to survive, had not only endured, they had redefined what it meant to confront the impossible. The lesson was clear. Humanity did not cower in the face of annihilation. Humanity did not submit to forces that the galaxy itself had deemed absolute. Humanity observed, adapted, and thrived. They had turned the ultimate cosmic threat into a triumph of courage, curiosity, and indomitable will. And somewhere in the void, The stars themselves seemed to acknowledge it, twinkling in quiet applause at the species that had laughed at the storm and dared to survive. For days, humans drifted within the quantum storm, their ships navigating corridors of blinding energy and twisting fields that would have annihilated any other species. The storm, once thought to be an unstoppable force of death, became a stage for human ingenuity and audacity. Where other civilizations had perished, humans observed. Where other civilizations had fled, humans pressed forward, adapting in real time to the chaotic energy that danced around them. Every pulse, every crackle of quantum lightning was not merely survived, it was recorded, analyzed, and, in true human fashion, admired. Inside the ships, crews worked tirelessly. Scientists scribbled notes and tapped on holoscreens as their sensors measured impossible phenomena. Engineers recalibrated instruments that constantly failed under the storm's strain, improvising solutions from scraps of technology and raw determination. Pilots maneuvered through arcs of destructive energy, their eyes bright with concentration and excitement. Students, interns, and volunteers assisted wherever they could, taking readings, logging observations, and capturing photographs that would later astound the galaxy. To humans, the storm was not just a threat, it was a teacher, a challenge to their intellect, creativity, and courage. Alien observers, peering from secure vantage points, could hardly believe what they were seeing. The storm should have obliterated every vessel, every probe, every human. Instead, they saw ships glinting like jewels within the chaos, humans laughing, taking photographs, and even communicating with each other, as if they were on a leisurely expedition rather than in the heart of annihilation. Every image transmitted back to Earth was a revelation, arcs of energy splitting into spirals around the vessels, lightning bending into patterns that seemed almost deliberate, and phenomena that defied the laws of physics as the galaxy understood them. Humans were not content with merely surviving. They explored the storm's edges, seeking out vortices and anomalies, daring to approach phenomena that even the most advanced alien species had only observed from a safe distance. They sent drones into the storm's core, devices that would have been vaporized in an instant if not for ingenious shielding and adaptive stabilization systems. Every failure, every malfunction was met with laughter and immediate iteration. Next time, we'll get a better angle, one scientist joked as her instrument fried in a cascade of quantum interference. The audacity of humanity began to alter the perceptions of alien civilizations across the galaxy. Scholars, who had once cataloged quantum storms as absolute killers, now debated what they were witnessing. Could it be that humans possessed a resonance, a quality, or some unique interaction with reality that allowed them to survive where others had failed? Could it be that the storm, lethal to all known species, recognized something extraordinary in humans, something that demanded survival, observation, and ultimately, triumph? Even amid the dangers, humans maintained their sense of humor and creativity. Photographs captured astronauts holding makeshift flags, images of vessels perfectly framed by arcs of destructive energy, and even holographic messages spelling out playful phrases for distant observers. Each image transmitted back to Earth became a testament to the human spirit, audacious, fearless, and endlessly curious. Where the galaxy had expected silence, devastation, and despair, humans provided color, laughter, and knowledge. By the time the storm began to wane, the humans had amassed a treasure trove of data and imagery that would challenge the galaxy's understanding of quantum phenomena for generations. Crystalline patterns of energy were cataloged, quantum anomalies studied, and photographs of unearthly beauty preserved as evidence of humanity's triumph. What had been a force of death had been transformed into a gallery of cosmic art, a symphony of light and energy that would be remembered long after the storm itself dissipated. For the alien civilizations observing from afar, the lesson was stark and humbling. Humans were not merely survivors, they were pioneers, explorers, and scholars of existence itself. They had faced the ultimate cosmic test and emerged not just alive, but victorious. They had taken what the galaxy feared most and turned it into knowledge, memory, and beauty. And in doing so, humans had redefined what it meant to confront annihilation. When at last the storm subsided and the final tendrils of energy dissipated into the void, humans emerged triumphant. They carried with them not only scientific discoveries, but artifacts of astonishing wonder, crystallized quantum filaments that shimmered with impossible colors, plasma spheres contained within transparent vessels, and most importantly, photographs that immortalized their journey through the heart of destruction. They had transformed fear into curiosity, peril into art, and chaos into triumph. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations whispered in disbelief and awe. A species that should have perished had instead rewritten the rules of survival. They had taken the deadliest phenomenon known to the universe and confronted it with courage, ingenuity, and irrepressible audacity. Humanity had proven something profound. When faced with annihilation, they did not hide. They did not submit. They observed, they adapted, and they triumphed. The quantum storm had roared. The galaxy had watched. And humanity had shown, in dazzling brilliance, that where others failed, humans would endure, and in enduring, they would turn death into wonder, terror into triumph, and destruction into a story worth telling. When the last pulses of the quantum storm faded into the void, Earth's fleet began its slow, deliberate return. The ships glinted against the backdrop of a recovering solar system, battered but unbroken, each vessel carrying crews alive against impossible odds. Human scientists and explorers moved through their ships with careful precision, cataloging data, securing fragile samples, and reviewing thousands of images captured during their journey through annihilation. They were exhausted, yet exhilarated. They had faced the deadliest phenomenon the galaxy had ever known, and they had emerged not only alive, but triumphant. What the humans returned with was extraordinary. Crystallized quantum filaments shimmered in containment chambers, glowing with colors and patterns that no species had ever witnessed. Plasma spheres, suspended in transparent vessels, hummed with residual energy, tiny remnants of the storm contained safely by human ingenuity. Ships carried records of fluctuating quantum fields, detailed maps of the storm's most dangerous vortices, and millions of photographs capturing every awe-inspiring and terrifying moment. Each artifact and image was a testament to what humans could achieve when courage, curiosity, and tenacity combined. And then there were the photographs, the true souvenirs of survival. Humans had captured the storm in ways that defied imagination. Arcs of quantum lightning frozen mid-flight, spiraling vortices that bent light into impossible shapes, and images of themselves standing amid the chaos, grinning with uncontainable audacity. Some images were playful, others scientific, and some bordered on the artistic, showing the storm itself as a living, dynamic entity framed by human presence. Across the galaxy, these photographs began to circulate, transmitted through interstellar channels to observers who had once predicted humanity's demise. The reaction from other civilizations was immediate and profound. Alien scholars, politicians, and engineers who had once cataloged humans as fragile and reckless now struggled to find words. Entire councils convened to review the data. What species had survived a quantum storm intact, collected knowledge from it, and even celebrated their passage through it? The answer was one that had seemed impossible: humans. Where the galaxy had expected silence and oblivion, it now found audacity, ingenuity, and triumph. Whispers spread across the stars. Stories circulated of humans laughing in the face of annihilation, of their instruments failing and being fixed in mid-flight, of their ability to adapt faster than any algorithm or AI could predict. Some civilizations attempted to replicate human methods, but nothing matched the resilience, creativity, and sheer boldness of a species that refused to accept death as the only outcome. Humanity had turned the ultimate cosmic threat into a playground of discovery, proving that survival was not only a matter of technology, but of spirit. Back on Earth, celebrations were subdued yet deeply proud. Scientists hugged, engineers laughed in disbelief, and even those who had been terrified at the storm's approach now smiled at the audacity of what had been accomplished. For the first time in recorded history, humans held artifacts from a phenomenon that had killed countless civilizations. They had turned annihilation into knowledge, fear into fascination, and chaos into memory. Every item brought back, every photograph captured, every dataset logged was a testament to humanity's indomitable spirit. Across the galaxy, alien species slowly began to adjust their perception of humans. They were no longer the unpredictable, fragile species of past reports. They were explorers who could face the unimaginable and emerge victorious, a species that transformed danger into opportunity. The quantum storm, once a universal sentence of death, had become a benchmark of human courage and ingenuity. To confront it and survive was a statement, not just to Earth or the solar system, but to the entire galaxy. Humans would not be defined by fear. Humans would define themselves by what they could achieve, even in the face of impossible odds. The galaxy had said, "Quantum storms kill all." Humans had replied, "Nice light show. We'll take a few photos." In that reply was defiance, brilliance, and the unmistakable mark of a species that refused to bow to destiny. Somewhere, in the quiet reaches of space, the stars themselves seemed to acknowledge it, twinkling with a subtle mirth, as if applauding humanity's triumph. For humans, survival was never enough. They had survived, yes, but they had done so with curiosity, courage, and the audacity to turn the deadliest storm in the galaxy into a story worth telling for generations. And thus, humanity returned not just alive, but immortalized in legend. The storm had passed, the stars had witnessed, and the galaxy had learned that